This is apparently going to be a thing every week where you slide in the 1 second mark. Hello, welcome back to the Bounty Hunting Show. I forgot to say this, but every Wednesday at 7:30 God's time, that'd be Central in America. You can find us live on the Twitch if you want to hang out, talk to us. Or usually every Thursday at around 5 or 6, I upload it to the YouTubes. So you can always hang out with us there. Today we are a 2-man, not a 3-man. Kachung has, what I understand, was taken to Coruscant so he can be presented in front of the Jedi Council to see if he is okay to start his Jedi training. So here's a crossing the fingers that he will be made a part of the family.
They'll see if his rat tail will be cut off or not.
All right, so who are we talking about tonight, Canadian?
We are talking about Prince Xizor, the leader of the Black Sun Syndicate.
Prince Xizor, you say?
Xizor.
Caesar me, Daddy. Let's do it.
We're going straight into this.
This is the wrong one. We need to do this one. How many? Hold on, before I start this. How many episodes 82? Are we in now? 82. And the damn professional streaming situation we have is amazing. No one does it better.
Xizor, a fallen prince, belonged to a reptilian species recognized for their ability to manipulate pheromone. He held leadership over the Black Sun, a criminal organization that operated in the galaxy between the events of The Empire Strikes Back and the Return of the Jedi. Xizor wielded significant influence and power, using his organization's resources to undermine both the Rebel Alliance and the Galactic Empire, all to advance his own personal ambitions. In the shadows of the Empire narrative, Darth Vader, in order to safeguard the secrecy of his project, issued the command to obliterate the city where Prince Xizor's family lived. Tragically, this resulted in the death of his parents, brother, 2 sisters, and 3 uncles. After learning of Vader's quest for Luke Skywalker, Xizor devised a scheme to get his revenge on Darth Vader. His plan involved assassinating Luke Skywalker and manipulating the Rebel Alliance's rescue of Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt. By doing so, Xizor aimed to garner the Emperor's favor and eliminate his adversaries, including Lord Vader.
All right. And that is him. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Just fine.
Good night.
All right. So we kind of talked about this. We kind of wanted to do it for sorry, kids. Just because we kind of want to do some of the dark side, the seedy side, the underbelly,
the criminal syndicates, the gangs. But it's hard to kind of focus on it's hard to focus in on specific stuff with the gangs, especially if there's not like a ton of detail about them. I mean, half the characters you picked don't have a lot of detail to begin with, so what better way than to look at some of their leaders as the focus?
Yeah, and he's probably would you say he's probably one of the more famous of the...
For sure. He's probably the most famous, especially given that the reason why he was introduced and how he was introduced was the whole line of the Shadows of the Empire, where they set this big kind of event in between 5 and 6 and through video games, books, comics, and action figures, because they had the entire line of Shadows of the Empire as well.
Yeah, so really quick, we usually do canon mostly, and then maybe a little bit of legends. But this is gonna be pretty much all legend, because the canon is like a half of a mention.
It's a 1 sentence and possibly a panel of a hologram. Which we'll cover at the end of the episode. We'll have a slideshow and we'll cover that there. But yeah, basically all of his information we're going to get is everything from that Shadows of the Empire event and some surrounding information.
All right.
First off, the amount of balls that guy must have to immediately target Vader as his number 1 adversary and take his job.
Well, I was a little bit unsure. I'm just making sure we're still rock and roll, but it looks like we are. I was a little bit unsure about the reasoning behind it, but like I said in the thing a little bit, Vader was, and because he had to cover his tracks according to stuff, He was doing some experimentations, and when it all backfired and some shit got released, he had to cover it up like a good, government will, if supposedly. And so he did the right thing, and instead of paying people off, no, he just carpet bombed the entire area and killed this man's entire family. And what I found interesting is through my investigation work, this guy, the prince here, paid off and did the best he could to cover up Vader's shenanigans. So that way, when he came for him, no one expected him and no one saw him coming. You want to talk about some years and years planning to get your revenge. You spend all your money to cover up the guy you hates crime because you don't want to see him. I don't want him to see you.
You want to be the guy. You want to be the guy who takes on it.
I think that is all time Jack action. All right. Thank you, Dark Age Jedi. Yeah, so that's just freaking amazing. And you know what I also find interesting in a lot of these stories? It's how like the authors, no matter if it's a video game, because this guy obviously was a video game, or legend books, canon, whatever it is, when they involve the Emperor, they always do a thing where it's like everybody around the Emperor thinks they're playing the Emperor a little bit, but playing each other to get his favor. And it always seems like the Emperor knows 100% what you're doing before you even do it, and is letting it happen because he thinks, well, if Vader can't figure it out, then he ain't worthy of my first anyway. Like it's very interesting how they just stick with that. He's never fooled. And if you do think he's fooled, he's actually not. Like he's letting you think he's fooled for just a second, and then he's going to be like, "Well, listen, you got to take hand of your business." It's a very interesting way they write that stuff. So I said it right before we came on that I need another gimmick, but apparently this is just going to be my trademark every time we do these shows. This is amazing character, and I wish they would do more with it.
We have Kachun has his quote of "I can't be disappointed,"
and that one's probably going to be mine because this is like the 8th character in a row that I'm just like, I mean, he's a freaking badass. I wish I should have got just a picture of him so I could show it again. Like he's a green dude with a freaking
top knot,
a top knot, and he had to get his professional business. I mean, this is the way it goes. Okay, we're gonna tell a little story here, and it's a dangerous story, but we're gonna tell it. Here we go. Back when I was a child, I was in trouble a lot, and in school mostly. Okay, so they sent me it was in Las Vegas, and they sent all the troublemakers and everything to a high school for summer. I had to go to summer school. My principal told me, "Congratulations, you are the only person we've ever made go to summer school strictly for behavior." All right, so I went to what ended up happening, kind of like when you send kids to jail, they end up coming out a better criminal. I met actual criminals in there, and one of the things I met was a young man whose family sells a substance that was very popular in the 90s, we'll say. And what happened was they were telling me how they worked. This is before Breaking Bad, by the way, how they whole family worked at the car wash place. Because in Las Vegas, it's very popular to have hand drying because you get a lot of tips. And they all worked at the hand car washing place because there was a lot of cash because of tips. And that way it looked somewhat legitimate. Why like 15 and 16 and 17-year-olds had a bunch of cash on their hand. And when cops say, well, how do you get all this cash? Well, I work at the car wash. I dry cars on the weekends and I get a lot of tips. And very similar to this, our Prince fellow here, he made sure that his empire was legitimate, and it was like legitimate enough that he wouldn't bring unnecessary heat to him when he's doing the shady stuff, which I found very, very, very interesting. I thought that was a cool little thing that he has his little side hustle.
Prince Xizor is this guy from Las Vegas, where he's a criminal underground, but has to put up a front of a good trafficker, so the Emperor he can stay in favor.
Do you know what he was shot on? The vehicle that he was supposedly exploded.
It
Or they
was
never found
his
his body,
space station called the
The Fist.
Spire, something Spire.
I thought it was the Fist.
No, that was his ship, but he docked in the he docked
Yeah,
in the
but what I'm
station.
saying, they called them Skyhooks or something like that.
Skyhook, that's what it was.
Yeah. And apparently they were a thing. They're fashionable, and they got outlawed during the Republic because they would break away and slam into the ground and cause mayhem to the people underneath because it was mostly rich people who did it. And the Empire got back and they just said, screw those little people, send them back up in the air because they're cool. Here's the funny thing was the first job I ever had as construction. This made me laugh when I was reading it. The first job I ever had, the old timer guy sent me into the tool shed to look for a skyhook. And he told me, don't come back till you find the skyhook. And I was looking for a while and I was like, that doesn't make sense. I don't know what that is. So like an hour I came back and he said, did you find it? I'm like, no. And he goes, because you can't hook the sky, idiot. And that's like, it was just a weird thing. Like, I think he thought it was going to.
You killed him, right?
Yeah, well, of course I did. But no one talks to Hinsberg like that. But it was just a weird thing that I remember. And I read this and all of a sudden I got that memory that I haven't thought about in like 30 years or 20 years. And I was like, oh, skyhook. That's funny. But have you ever heard of the skyhook until this?
I had heard, well, a long time ago, because it's basically like one of those, it's a little space station kind of thing, but almost like a party station. How like you have Jabba has a sail barge, this is equivalent of like in space, like floating around.
That's crazy. They ought to do something with a skyhook. That sounds interesting.
But yeah, so you're on that station. But basically, his character is weird. He basically vying for the Vader spot. Always in the background. He was around. So he was around before. So they introduced him at that time when the game and that book and all that stuff came out. But his character exists. They had his character exist before that stuff. He did things, but most of his actions came from after Episode 5 and before 6, which is where he became hooked up with the Emperor, and then eventually, leading to his death.
And then. I guess we talk about his people really quick. Other than being green and being kind of badasses,
guys,
they have one
little Oriental too.
Come on, that is what we do here in the world of Disney. Which I love you guys, and of course, all this is you're doing. I just here doing this silly little show in your blessing. But what is the one interesting feature that they have that they take advantage of? I guess.
Weird. Pheromones.
Yes, they do.
So Prince Xizor himself specifically is a very horny dude. He's very much womanizer, and basically wants to, like, because it has wealth and all of his stuff going on, he has, and the prince and all this. Anything he wants is his. And that extends into his physiology, where he has these pheromones he can excrete, which they basically just kind of turn the person who's close to him, when they sense it, into like a lull of what's that word? Like dullness. Like they're not like they lose all their senses. They kind of just become like mindless. So not necessarily attraction, but just kind of taking over their senses and everything.
So they date rape him. Is that what you're saying, basically?
He is the professional date raper. He specifically, when in the storyline, we'll talk in the comics, Leia is brought to him wearing Bush's outfit, as we talked about the other week. And he ends up basically assaulting her. Not fully. Because Chewbacca walks in and breaks that up, and then he gets really mad later on when Leia realizes how she figures it out, and he does not like that. He gets really angry, leading to the finale. But it's a weird it's a reptile basically too, right? Like
he's
pheromones,
reptilian looking.
Yeah, reptilian guy.
It's just it was interesting.
I don't know too much about like the other ones of the species using that.
Yeah, I think so. I think
they use it, but not like to the extent that he does.
No, I don't know. It was an interesting time in the 80s, 90s, and on. We had a lot of interesting writing. It was weird. And it also makes me laugh because I know, like, if you look at wrestling when I was a kid, everybody had a job. So there was like the trash man, the doctor, the dentist, or whatever. And I feel like sometimes when you go to these older characters in Star Wars, they have to be something. Well, I mean, Daddy Lucas did it too. Look at the prequels. But everybody has to do something. They can't just be like a normal species who just walks around. They have to like fill some kind of.
They have to have a weird quirk.
Yes, they have to have some kind of weird thing.
Hollow cones on their heads. Organs coming out of organs in their head, just showing through their skull.
Yeah, just something
random stuff.
Super weird that if you looked at it from like a how Mother Nature or the survival of the fittest would have done that doesn't make sense at all. Like, why would that even become a thing? But hey, yeah. It makes for fun bar scenes and movies, so I guess that's what it is.
But yeah.
So yeah, he finds out. At least this is gonna be Legends, of course. He finds out because for some reason, this is where I say that he's always on top of them. He always knows one step ahead of everybody. He is allowed to stand off to the side while the Emperor conducts a little conversation with Vader.
First time we see him, yeah.
Yeah, and Vader talks about how he needs to go after a young Skywalker. And for some reason, through his connections, I guess, he knows that Vader was a Skywalker at one time. He knows it. So at this moment, he puts it together very happily and thinks, oh, I got him. That's his son. But he doesn't want to show it because he doesn't want people to know he's put it together. So now his goal is to, what better way to piss off the Emperor and to get rid of Vader than to assassinate Luke Skywalker. And so it foils all their plans. So this also becomes his job. And what I find interesting, and I don't know how they're going to, if they ever bring these characters into the light, how are they going to do this? Because when you look at a lot of the stuff, even in comic books, but we look at a lot of the stuff in Legends, like Darth Vader went out of his way to protect Luke Skywalker. And I don't really know how I feel about it, because it was supposed to be the boogeyman. He realized it's his son. He still wants to turn to the dark side. Last second, I don't want this for you. Ollie oop, the Emperor off the edge of the thing, and then I die. We live happily ever after. But like a lot of those stories, he was like doing a lot of protecting of him, and I guess you could leave it gray. Like he was making sure that he would live so he can represent him in front of his master. But it's like walking a fine line where I'm like, I hope they don't, where he's full on protecting him, because it took away a little bit of the evil part in the movies, and I feel like they chip away a lot at the movies, and I hope that's not the case. But anyway, so that's his goal, is to assassinate young Skywalker.
And spoiler alert, does a bad job. Doesn't get it done.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, sorry if you haven't seen the movies yet, he doesn't actually kill him. He lives for a long time.
Actually, that leads to his demise, because he has Luke almost there. Completely fumbles the bag, as we'll see. Lando helps complete that. And then
damn right he does.
And yeah, so he goes after, and then Vader realizes that Xizor put out a all kill order, essentially, like shoot him down. I don't care. Kill Luke Skywalker. Vader's men pick it up, and Vader's like, oh, I'm gonna have a talk with this guy. Gives him a little call. Xizor's like, I don't care about you. Piss off. Ends the call. And Vader's like, turns his Super Star Destroyer, the Executor, and absolutely annihilates the skyhook that he's on, and presumably kills Xizor. We don't see him die.
Oh, yeah. Use that presumably really hard there, sir, because we don't see a body. We don't know. See a
body. There's rumors in the future. He's alive. He's somewhere out there. I don't know. I mean, getting cut in half, falling down a pit and surviving, possible. Being on a space station that absolutely obliterates suddenly without any chance of escape and not realizing what's going on, don't think you're making it out.
Princess Leia did a Mary Poppins through space, my friend. The rules are out the window when it comes to
pheromones will take him off. Like, they'll lift him up and flow him away.
Yeah, so he that'd be pretty cool, to see the unnecessary amount of firepower that Darth Vader probably put on him to blow up that skyhook. That's the other thing is I don't think Darth Vader said, "Hey guys, blow that up, but save your ammo. Like, don't go all out."
He said literally said, he's like, every gun on my ship,
every gun I have power,
Star Destroyer,
blow that thing into smithereens. And so I don't know. The other thing I was going to say really quick is that he apparently had, I don't know very much about it. Maybe you do. He apparently has a pretty awesome flight capable force in his command. And I read somewhere that when he saw those ships, he bought up the rights to them and then made it where they wouldn't make anymore. So he'd have exclusive.
True millionaire right there.
Yeah.
True businessman.
The exclusive ability to you only produce these ships for me.
That's
and
funny.
you would think that's silly, but then we live in a world where Elon Musk and the Amazon guy, who's technically my employer apparently, they shoot up rockets for their own personal. Ooh, look what I can do! So I guess we're not too far off of the having your personal space force up there in space. So
just don't stay near them, then you might get the pheromones. They might hit you.
Yeah, they got the pheromones. They're the lizard people. Oh my God, we just put it together. Lizard people, pheromones, Elon Musk. It's all there, brother.
All real. But so I guess otherwise, for him, there's not much else other than that storyline really that's to go off.
All right, well, let's take a look at it. You want to take a look at it then?
I guess before that, do you want to talk quickly about the Syndicate themselves?
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to do the opposite of that. How do I? There we go.
Because we talked mostly about Xizor, but the Syndicate themselves, they get a little more play in canon as well, specifically involved with Darth Maul's Shadow Collective.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so obviously in the Clone Wars, when Maul got out of being revived and going around with Savage, building a criminal underworld, he went around and he started recruiting the different
recruiting.
Factions.
It's interesting.
Yeah, so recruiting.
Recruiting.
He walked in the room, beat up the biggest guy there, and was like, "You work for me."
Decapitated all the leadership, and then it's like, "You're following me now. Come on."
Basically, so he went around. He got the Pikes involved. He got the Death Watch, and then he eventually got the Black Sun Syndicate under the leadership of Lord Guthrie, one of the other leaders of the Black Sun outside of Xizor. He's used more in canon as kind of like the leader, but like the frontline leader. So yeah, basically involved them, and that's how he got them involved in the Maul Shadow Collective. And we later on see him, as we'll see in the comics there, the Black Sun are involved in a lot of different auctions for different criminal stuff in the world, like the Han Solo auction, as well as different artifacts. Just a general criminal group. They kind of dabble in everything, not specific like, spice like the Pikes do, or weapons. They're kind of all over the place.
Wherever they can make
make a credit, they will do it.
A non-honest credit. They're there for that. All right. Well, let's see this storyline.
Yeah. So
there we go.
So for spotlighting. So yeah, for comics, obviously Legends, The Shadows of the Empire, issue 1 was his first appearance and cover, as well as the rest of the issues of that series, with number 6 being his death. He shows up in 4 other issues, basically as a quick hologram appearance or a flashback image, more or less just kind of remembering the events of Shadows of the Empire. Not much else outside of that. And that's be Legends appearances. So his first appearance there. So on the left, the cover, you can see him.
But this is not. This isn't canon, right?
This is Legends. These are all Legends appearances.
Does he have a canon first appearance?
We'll find out.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to hit my spec button, so I don't want to hit it too soon.
Well, this is a good one. So yeah, he's there. So this is just after Vader is.
That's a full-on first appearance. Look at that. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, he's off to the side there.
He's got that sweet backbone that I'm sure is all the rage, and
I'm sure that gets itchy, right? Like trying to scratch. So I'm gonna jump all the way to issue 5 here, because this is where this is issue 4. Sorry. The end of it is when he meets Leia, and he's like, "Welcome, I am Xizor." You can see the little gray smoke coming off is kind of his pheromones.
I like how they made sure you notice that's pheromones. Like, I'm sure in real life it wouldn't have any color, but for this, you got to be able to see it. It's a comic book. We're gonna put gray.
Just make sure it's coming out of like his arms or his body, not from the behind. That's the most important part.
You know what I also think is interesting sometimes about these alien designs? Like, he's got this crazy spine, right? But if you've been, wearing clothes for thousands of years, You would have developed clothes that probably would cover that, because I assume that spine gets cold, it gets hot. Like instead, they always have it out for the world.
It could also be like one of those statements where it's like, "Oh, look how good my spine."
That could be.
So yeah, issue 5. So this is where Xizor is putting his moves on Leia, going, the alliance and all this can work out, because she doesn't realize yet that he is working with the Emperor already. So she's trying to get the criminal syndicates on their side.
This is very clearly a different artist is doing the covers instead of doing the insides. This is clearly
a classic difference.
Are we just gonna ignore the fact that my man's rocking the flattest of flat tops the history has ever known?
He watched a couple episodes of The Simpsons, and this is the 90s after all, so he got inspired. It was part of his undercover disguise as a Wookiee bounty hunter.
Oh, I have no doubt. But at the same time, that is not the famous Chewbacca. How long do you think
it took for that to grow back?
I don't know, but he has the exact same thing. Even the thing around his body, the little thing, that is obviously Chewbacca with a flat top. They're like, Clark Kent with the glasses is what that is right there. I don't know who it is. That's crazy.
So yeah, this is the moment here where Xizor, essentially date rapes Leia without the simple as that.
Well, I mean, at least it was just a
kiss,
a little grabby kiss, not something more.
Yeah.
But
and also a thing of note, which we didn't mention, is his skin changes color. He's typically green, but in this moment, I guess because can't remember if it was clarified or not. I didn't remember reading it, but I think it's because of the species he's touching. It's almost like a chameleon.
Is that it, or is it when the blood rushes to the extremities, it changes his color from green?
Well, you think his spine would stay green, right? It'd be the weird one. And Chewbacca steps in, breaks up the thing. So Leia comes back later, and because she already knew, she realizes what happened. It was the pheromones. She keeps her distance, like, I don't think so. I'm not going to get near you. And as soon as he approaches her, she immediately knees him in the big green, and he gets pissed off and sends her away with the help of his right hand.
Well, there you go.
And this is the fun. So this is issue 6. This is a fun moment. So when they're all like trying to break out Leia, trying to rescue her, because she has Bush's disguise, right, and the thermal detonator. So they're down the hallway with Xizor there, like ready to have them all like killed or grabbed. Lando pulls out the thermal detonator. He's like, Let's all walk to the elevator, nice and slow. As they get in the elevator, just smiling through the door at them.
Lando's always saving the day, ladies and gentlemen. Always saving the day.
I knew someone would appreciate him there, so I had to agree. And yes, this is the moment here. So when Vader he intercepts the message, and in the top left you see Admiral Piet telling him that the Prince Xizor made the command to have Luke killed. And he goes, "Oh, the Skyhook. Let's take a little talk for a bit." And he talks to him on the right side there. Xizor starts yelling at him. Vader just kind of expressionless, staring, going, "Yeah, okay. Carry on my orders, Commander." Blast the Skyhook. And then obliterates the Skyhook.
A small sun for a second.
Small sun, yeah, completely to the point where it's like a massive blast. And then someone says inside the Millennium Falcon, I presume Lando, "Oh man, somebody got on somebody's wrong side."
It was definitely Lando.
Yeah. So regarding canon comics, so issue 2 of Darth Maul for 27.
First appearance, Spec Talk. Let's go.
First appearance of the Black Sun Syndicate, the Syndicate themselves. While War of the Bounty Hunters is also an appearance of the Black Sun. Crimson Reign issue 1 is the first time Xizor is mentioned by name by Kira
Let's go.
herself.
We're bringing him back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go.
Yeah, long time later. And then here's the one that's a little fun. So in Hidden Empire 1, the last of the three event arc, the War of the Bounty Hunters, Crimson Reign, Hidden Empire, you see Emperor Palpatine talking to all the different leaders of the criminal syndicates, and they have one of the Xizor, the Fallen species. Kind of looks like him. He doesn't have a beard or anything, and talking, but they never mention his name because the other leader I mentioned earlier, Lord Guthrie, he has a goatee, which is how you can tell him apart because the evil, the goatee. So
everybody knows you got to have evil twin with a goatee. Come on now.
So yeah, so here's this is another auction event going on where they're auctioning off a Jedi. So in the middle there, left to the ginormous hut, you see the black sun all lined up there. In the purple and gold, as they always are. So yeah, double page spread.
This isn't a terribly expensive book, I don't think, right?
This is a terribly expensive book. This is the first appearance of Cad Bane. And
oh, never mind.
And
I had totally forgot about that, to be honest with you. That's why I recognize that cover so much. I figured maybe I had it, so that's why I'm like, oh, I have that book. It can't be expensive then.
Hopefully you have
on
it
the
still.
wish list.
So issue 3 of War of the Bounty Hunters, another auction where they're involved in the bottom left there, talking about Kira and the stuff. Yeah.
Look, we got a floating head book. That's nice.
Floating head book. A Kachun favorite. And then Crimson Reign issue 1. So there. So Kira meets up with Lord Guthrie and the Black Suns to discuss working together and her conniving schemes. You see him there with the goatee and his ponytail. And then she mentions later on that in that one panel, she says, "Pass it along to Prince Xizor with compliments from Crimson Dawn." And that's all we know of Prince Xizor in canon, is that one sentence.
Nice.
He exists, he's there, and he's in charge. We just don't know what's going on. And this is the moment where, in Hidden Empire, so you see the leaders of the Hutts, or the Hutt Council, I think it's Jabba, I'm not sure exactly which one, the Black Sun, Pikes, and 2 other smaller syndicates. But yeah, the Black Sun one speaks specifically, but we don't know who it is. But presumably it is him, an unnamed appearance.
It has to be, though, right? Because she said his name.
She said his name. That and the other top dog, Lord Guthrie, has a goatee. This other guy does not have a goatee. He's clean shaven, like the like a Xizor. So and it's currently an unnamed appearance, but I mean, it's pretty likely it's him.
He speaks with authority to the Emperor, right? So he's not just some random they put up there.
He's the only one who spoke of that entire group we saw, by the way. In
all right, you heard it here first. The Hoosier Comics guarantees you this is the first appearance. Pick it up now in your stores while you can.
Hello, Cult of Doom or Dom.
Now, I will say this really fast.
Oh, I hate the art in Hidden Empire.
Yeah, a lot of people were disappointed in what they did with this this book.
So. It was sad. I think I liked what they did with the first one, the War of the Bounty Hunters. Crimson Reign was fine. It had some cool stuff with her and some interesting things, but I didn't like the finale of it all. I thought Hidden Empire was pretty weak.
Cult of the Dom. What's happening? All right, so let's go into the best part of Star Wars. The toys. Woo-hoo!
Well, they obviously had a whole series dedicated to him. Does that translate to toys? It does, a little bit. Shadows of the Empire was the name of that line they created specifically for this whole event. So Prince Xizor with energy blade shields was his first figure in this purple packaging, which I think that's actually quite nice packaging from that time.
All right, sorry. I'm seeing if my son can find this for me, because I think I have one of these.
On top of that, he has 2 other figures. On the left is from the Shadows of the Empire event as well. It's a Vader and him 2-pack with the comic, and that comic is an exclusive cover from that. It wasn't the same cover as the regular issues, and it's Xizor and Vader back to back. It's actually really cool.
That's actually pretty cool. Yeah.
And then they also did a separate one much later on, which was issue 5 of Shadows of the Empire with Xizor and Leia there. The infamous date rape comic.
Wow, they actually put that into a toy too. Yeah. Fantastic. Where's your head at, Star Wars? All right.
Pheromones are in. And then, just for a little extra fun, because he's a weird character, I'm like, I know the Shadows of the Empire had a lot of merchandise put out, so I looked at what else there was. He had two other things of note. He had on the left is 10-inch vinyl toy statue thingy-majiggy, where he has a really funny face going on. And then on the right, this was kind of cool, was a limited edition statuette, almost kind of like a sculpted rock thing. We have Vader kneeling down, the Emperor's face, and Xizor off to the side.
Yeah, that's it, dude. Thank you. Was this was that popular of a thing that they had this much merchandise?
Oh, so the whole point of this event, they put a bunch of money into it because they wanted to make this big, expansive event where it kind of crossed all the. This was 94, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
This was 1994, and they wanted to kind of cross like the games, like the Nintendo 64 game, the books, the comics, toys. They wanted to have a whole thing around this. Because it was all about, it was half and a half. It was all about Xizor and Luke and Vader, and the other half was Boba Fett bringing Han Solo to Jabba. So,
and real quick, I'll go back to that, but right here, I have. You can't. He doesn't want to focus, but as you can see,
yeah,
there he is.
So
with his little spine poking out. We talked about.
What's that on his foot? Which one is it?
What's it says on his foot? I don't know. What do you mean?
What year?
Oh, I'm not sure. 1998. I think it is.
Okay, because I was wondering if it was the two that one that had the issue 5, or if it was the one with Vader. I think it's the one with Vader you might have then.
No, it's 1996.
Okay, or it's 96 when this came out. It was 96 or 94, I think. But yeah,
that's so interesting that they were hoping for the best with this line.
Yeah, it did good. It actually did good, but not like enough to warrant them doing it again.
How much is this little statue thing? Did you look?
Can you the vinyl thing on the left, or the statue?
The actual limited edition statue thing.
If I'm not mistaken, I think I saw some for like 150 Canadian in the box.
That's crazy.
Not the seal, but like in that open box kind of thing.
And is this the Nintendo 64, or is this totally separate?
This is the same event. Yeah, Shadows of the Empire. It's the same. That game came out to tie in with all this.
That's crazy. Okay, well,
yeah, with Dash Rendar.
That is Prince Xizor. Xizor, me daddy. I hope they do something with this guy. He's super entertaining. They haven't done enough with him. I think they're going to. I think that is him, if I had to guess. And I do think they can do a lot more of the criminal underworld.
And as we forgot to mention, is the Star Wars Outsiders game that's coming out is set between episode 5 and 6 and is about the criminal underworld. So possibly.
So yeah, this could be pretty awesome. And I'm hoping for the best. And that is that man. So I think that's it on the Prince Xizor. Any questions or comments, you can always put it down below and I will have the Canadian here answer them for you.
Poor encyclopedia.